What's up, guys? It's Carly from FasciNATIVE English, where if you are finally ready to take your English to another level and to begin speaking English like a native English speaker, then you've come to the right place. So let's get into it. What's up, guys? I have another slang phrase for you all today, and today's slang phrase is hit or miss. Again, that is hit or miss, all right? And hit or miss just means sometimes successful and sometimes not, or as likely to be good as it is bad. So sometimes successful, sometimes not. As likely to be good as it is bad. Hit or miss. So a quick example here is I love shopping, right? It's no secret that I enjoy shopping, and everybody who knows me, they just know maybe I have a little bit of a shopping problem. I'm a little bit of a shopaholic.
My name is Lily and I'm a shopaholic.
I like to shop and I like to find good deals. So there's a store here in America and probably in other places all over the world, but in America there's a store called TJ Maxx. And TJ Maxx has basically anything and everything you could possibly think of, but at discounted prices. So you don't have to pay retail or MSRP prices, you pay a discounted price. So every time I go to TJ Maxx and if I find something that I really like, I have to buy it because TJ Maxx is hit or miss. Sometimes you find really good things for really good deals, and sometimes you don't find anything, or sometimes you find it but it's not in your size, or it's not the right color. You see what I'm saying? So it's hit or miss. So actually, just this morning, my husband and I were at TJ Maxx, and I used this expression to him because he had found a sweater that he really loved. And I was like, oh, this would be perfect for winter. Like, I love this. But it was a size small. Which honestly, it was basically a children's size. It looked so small that it looked like it could be children's size in this children's section rather than being in the adult section. And we looked everywhere for this, all right? We looked everywhere for a bigger size, and it was nowhere to be found because TJ Maxx is just that type of store that is hit or miss. It can sometimes give you really good things and sometimes it can't, because TJ Maxx as a store, they get their inventory from other stores that, maybe don't want their inventory, or they're clearing out, or maybe it's going out of season. So they gather it from a bunch of places. So TJ Maxx is not necessarily given, a whole size selection of everything. Sometimes they can only be sent size smalls, or sometimes size larges, or, sometimes they have only brown and not the black version, It's all hit or miss. So I used this expression this morning. I was like, man, I love TJ Maxx, but it's very hit or miss. Meaning, sometimes you can come here and you can find everything you want and it's cheap and it's amazing. And that day is just a good day when that happens. And then other times you're looking for something and nothing's going your way because you're like, that's not my size, or that's not the right color, or, this would be nice if it looked like this, it's miss sometimes, so hit or miss. But my story,
I always have a funny story for y'all.
My story behind this slang phrase, hit or miss, is embarrassing.
This is so humiliating,
to say the least, but it's pretty funny. So I'm gonna go ahead and share it with you all. Hit or miss can be used in many different types of scenarios. So the one that I just gave you is in regards to a store, sometimes a store is hit or miss. But when you make a relationship with someone, whether that be a friendship, or if you want to actually have an intimate relationship and become like a couple with someone, that little interaction can sometimes be hit or miss. And here's my story. About 5 or 6 months before I met my current husband, I was single and I was getting, back out into the dating world and open to dating. But then again, I kind of didn't want to date. I don't know. I had this, it was different. Like one day I'm like, oh yeah, I want a boyfriend. And the other day I'm like, no, I don't want a boyfriend. I was in between, but I was open to the idea of like meeting people. So I was at the gym and I was working out, and I just happened to see this really cute guy, and I was like,
Oh,
he's kind of cute, you know? And I was like, oh, like, let me go over there and work out next to him, you know? And for a few days, I noticed like he was showing up around the same time that I would show up, and I thought he was kind of cute, and I felt like he kind of looked at me. So I was like, interesting, you know? And around, I don't know, week 2, our paths actually crossed, where we were working on the same machine, or like machines, I don't remember, like right next to each other. So we sparked a conversation, and I was like, you know, Carley, be bold. Be bold. Get out of your comfort zone and just ask him, like, you know, what does he usually do after the gym? So I asked him, I was like, hey, what do you usually do like when you leave here? And he was like, oh, like, you know, sometimes I just go home. Sometimes I run errands. Sometimes I like to, you know, go to a coffee shop and just chill. And I'm like, oh, you know, basically me too. Because that's what I did. I would either go home, run errands, or I lived in Koreatown at that time. Not in Korea, in Koreatown, here in Atlanta area, in Duluth. And when I lived over that way, like there's a lot of cafes that you could go to. So sometimes for fun, when I'm bored, I would just go to a cafe. So I was like, oh, have you heard of this cafe? And I, you know, shouted the cafe out, and he was like, oh yeah, I love that place. I'm like, yeah, me too. And then he's like, yeah, we should totally, like, if you're free one time, like after we work out, we should go to the cafe. So I was like, oh my gosh, is he asking me on a date? What is happening right now? I was a little bit like, okay, sure. So I was like, yeah. So we exchanged contact information, and this was really strange for me because it's been a while since I met somebody organically. Like usually I meet, when I would like be introduced to guys, it was because it was like a friend of a friend and they wanted us to meet. Or it was like, you know, online, somebody just slid into my DMs or something. Or I used to do like Hello Talk, which is like an app for learning languages, but a lot of times the guys would just be flirting and trying to shoot their shot. I never met anybody like organically as I met this person. I only met like one other person that was like super organic. But this one, it was like, you know, destiny.
Destiny Delvacchio from high school? What?
Yeah, I thought. So I was like, okay, let me give him the benefit of the doubt and let me like, you know, hang out with him. Like, this is probably gonna be fun. So I did, and like that turned into us like being friends and hanging out more and like kind of doing what couples do, but like we weren't like labeled as a couple, and we just literally thought we were just friends. Like that's what he thought. But eventually I was like, you know what, he's pretty cute and we've been hanging out a lot, so I think I should ask him, you know? But I really contemplated, like, should I ask him like, hey, do you want a date? Or should I like hint to the idea, you know, because there's this like stigma that girls cannot ask guys to date or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to like take that away from him, you know, his manliness of asking me on a date. But then again, I kind of want to just be like, hey, we're basically dating already. Do you want a date? You know, I wanted to ask him that. So I was talking to my friend about it, and my friend at the time, she was like, well, what do you have to lose? It's hit or miss. You know, you either ask him and he says, yeah, let's date, or you ask him and he says, no, I don't want to. It's hit or miss. And I'm like, you know what? You're so right. But I guess what I have to lose is the friendship that we've kind of developed over the past, like, you know, couple months, because you know, it kind of became like a little routine. Like I knew when he would be at the gym, like we both exercised at the same time. And after we would hang out, like there, even if it's in the same parking lot, we would just like go to one of those stores, or there was a grocery store right next to my gym. And sometimes he would just like walk around the grocery store with me and get my groceries because I needed to run some errands and I needed groceries. So he would just like walk around the grocery store with me. You know, it was like fun to just have like that partner there with you. So she was like, what do you have to lose? It's hit or miss. So I'm like, you know what, you're right. So I shoot my shot, and basically he already had a girlfriend. I know, boys, men, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, news to me. This whole time, these past 2 months, you've just been hanging out with me randomly and you had a girlfriend this whole time. I did not know that. And he was like, oh yeah, well, I have a girlfriend, but she's in Malaysia, because he was Malaysian. And he was like, my girlfriend's in Malaysia. And I was like, oh, okay, that's suspicious. That's weird. Does she know that you've been out here hanging out with other girls? you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. Not my business. But I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know, that's why you wouldn't be spending time with her. And he's like, yeah, I have a girlfriend. She's back in Malaysia. I'm only here for a year. He was like a student visa. He's like, so I'm just trying to like make friends. I'm like, no, totally get that. So yes, it was hit or miss. Did I miss?
Dodged the bullet.
I don't know. I thought I would shoot my shot. I don't really call it a miss because like he was already taken. But if he would have told me, ew, Carly, no, like I would never date you, then that would be a miss. So I feel like this wasn't really a miss. It was more like a little side quest, you know, something separate. Like, oh, okay, I already have a girlfriend, so we can be friends. So I hope you guys have a better understanding of this slang phrase, hit or miss. If you do, please click the like button, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you all in the next video.